What is US President Donald Trump trying to do? That's a question many have been asking over the last few months. Trump has completed about 80 days in office as president, and there's hardly been a day where he or his administration hasn't hit headlines globally. So be it his bid to end birthright citizenship in the US, deporting illegal immigrants in shackles, including Indians who were staying there illegally, a $5 million gold card plan, which is effectively a premium route to US citizenship, controversy over $21 million of US aid money, which apparently Bangladesh and not India benefited from earlier, warning to Hamas on its war against Israel, and of course, this unprecedented spat with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on camera.
Now, not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
Now, in the last few days, Trump unveiled yet another policy of his that promises to wreak havoc in the global stage. Reciprocal tariffs. Trump says it's time America stops putting up with high tariff rates other countries are charging Washington. He wants to correct that. On his radar are all what he calls friendly and unfriendly countries that charge high tariff. And this includes India as well. In fact, Donald Trump's latest announcements also sent the stock market into a tizzy. Several stocks on Wall Street took a tumble as Trump's tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China triggered investor panic. So what has Donald Trump said on tariffs and what does it mean for India? Hello and welcome to Simply Put. I am Shubham Chauhan. Let's get started. First, the latest updates. US President Donald Trump on Friday claimed that India will significantly reduce tariff on American imports. He accused New Delhi of imposing massive trade barriers. Trump also said that India has agreed to do so allegedly because somebody is finally exposing them for what they have done. They, that is New Delhi. In fact, here's the clip of what Donald Trump said.
India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. You know, we do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done.
Now, this is the third time that Trump has brought up the India-US tariff issue in recent days. Earlier this week, Donald Trump addressed a joint session of the US Congress, his first since taking oath as US president. In his long speech, Trump touched upon several aspects: domestic policy, Russia-Ukraine war, immigration, making America great again, etc. But the big headline point was his comment on tariffs. Donald Trump announced that the United States will impose tariffs equivalent to those charged by other nations starting the 2nd of April. He said that countries like the European Union, China, Brazil and India impose much higher tariffs on the US than vice versa, and he called the situation unfair. The US president singled out India's auto sector and said New Delhi was charging way too high tariffs.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them.
In fact, a couple of days before this announcement, US had already issued orders to charge a 25% tariff on nearly all goods from Canada and Mexico, and a 10% additional tariff on imports from China starting the 4th of March. Of course, the three countries were not pleased with this. Beijing says it was ready for a trade war and will fight till the end. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a retaliatory 25% tariff on US imports.
Canadians are reasonable and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the US tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time.
Top economists in Washington warned that blanket levies could hurt growth in the country and also lead to high inflation. And hence, within 48 hours, Donald Trump temporarily rolled back these tariffs. This relief has been given till the 2nd of April. That's when Trump's retaliatory tariffs round against all countries are scheduled to kick in. But let's come back to India. Trump's repeated mentions of India's high tariff comes almost a month after President Trump and Prime Minister Modi's meeting in Washington, D.C. Just before that meeting, Trump had already announced his intentions to slap reciprocal tariffs on countries including India. In this meeting between the two leaders, the issue of tariffs did come up. Trump reportedly wasn't pleased with limiting market access to American products in India and the high tariffs that New Delhi levies. India, on its part, promised to review them and also offered to buy more oil, gas, and defense equipment. New Delhi and Washington agreed to find a mutually beneficial solution to this in the form of a trade deal. The two leaders also aim to increase bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. In fact, in the lead up to the Modi-Trump meeting in February, India had already cut tariffs on several items. The tariffs on high-end motorcycles was brought down from 50% to 30%. On bourbon whiskey, it was cut from 150% to 100%. But what do all these numbers of tariff rates mean? Basically, a tariff is a tax which a government imposes on imported or exported products. Now, developing countries usually have high tariffs in place. This is done to largely protect local industries and products and also generate revenue for the government. If you look at India and US's case specifically, as per WTO data, India's average tariff rate is 12%. The US is at about 2.2%. So that's a 10% gap on average between the two. According to a White House fact sheet, the US applies an average most favored nation or MFN tariff of 5% on farm goods, while India's tariff on the same products is as high as 39%. And that is what Washington claims. In 2024, India has had a $45.6 billion trade surplus with US. That's a 5.7 increase from 2023. Now that means New Delhi sells more to Washington than what it buys from them. Now Donald Trump wants to change all of that. He has in fact in the past referred to India as tariff king and even as a tariff abuser. When asked about Trump's reciprocal tariffs, here's what India's Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar had to say.
Where you thought India would come out of this great tariffs exercise.
I was coming there bit by bit.
Good. I'm just making sure we get that.
We had a very open conversation about it. And the result of that conversation was that we agreed on the need for a bilateral trade agreement. Our trade minister, in fact, is there in Washington doing exactly that right now.
Now, Indian exporters are worried that a reciprocal tariff could trigger a huge crisis. Citi Research estimates that India could lose around $7 billion annually due to Trump's tariffs. The most affected would be chemicals, metal products, and jewelry, followed by automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and food products. Rating agency Moody's said last month that developing countries like India, Vietnam, and Thailand have the widest gap, they're among the widest gap in tariff rates in comparison to the US. So as a result, these countries could see the greatest impact from US reciprocal tariffs. In fact, as we speak, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is in Washington for the last week or so. He has met his US counterpart and negotiations for an early trade deal are already underway. The two sides aim to complete a bilateral agreement, or at least the first phase of it, by 2025 end. Reports say New Delhi has expressed willingness to cut tariff rates further in some cases, like it did before the Trump-Modi meeting. Now we'll have to wait and see till the 2nd of April as to how and if India manages to escape Trump's reciprocal tariffs, given the impact it is expected to have not just between India and US, but also globally. That's all we have for this episode of Simply Put. Do like and share this video, comment and let us know what your views are, and of course, subscribe to HW News English on YouTube for more such videos. Thanks for watching.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.